Have you ever felt like you were going crazy because a man's actions didn't match his words? Like he was showing you one thing, but telling you another. What if I told you that the most obsessed he becomes, the harder he'll work to hide it from you? Here's the truth that will change everything. When a man is secretly obsessed with you, he doesn't chase, he retreats. He doesn't confess, he conceals, and he doesn't make it obvious, he makes it invisible. Today, we're uncovering the 6 undeniable signs that prove you've become his secret obsession, even when he's doing everything in his power to hide it from you. These aren't the generic signs everyone talks about. No basic, he texts you back quickly nonsense. We're talking about the deep psychological patterns, the subconscious behaviors, and the emotional contradictions he can't control no matter how hard he tries. Because here's what no one tells you about male obsession. When you become truly important to him, when you start occupying his thoughts and disrupting his peace, his instinct isn't to get closer, it's to protect himself. And that protection looks like distance, indifference, and sometimes even coldness. But his subconscious will betray him every single time. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot when you've become someone's secret obsession, how to read the signs he doesn't even know he's giving, and why the man who seems most uninterested might be the one who thinks about you, the psychology of secret attraction, the most. So grab a seat, stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover will give you a superpower most women never develop. Here's the thing about men, an obsession that changes everything. When a man realizes he's becoming obsessed with a woman, it doesn't make him happy. It terrifies him. And fear makes men do the exact opposite of what you'd expect. Most women think that when a man is obsessed, he becomes more obvious, more pursuing, more available. But here's the psychology that flips that assumption. When a man recognizes that someone has power over his emotions, his first instinct is to regain control. And the easiest way to feel in control, act like that person doesn't affect you at all. It's not manipulation. It's self-preservation. Deep down, he's thinking, if I can convince myself she doesn't matter, then maybe these feelings will go away. If I can prove I don't need her attention, then maybe I'll stop craving it. If I can act indifferent, then maybe I'll actually become indifferent. But here's the beautiful irony. The harder he tries to suppress his obsession, the more obvious it becomes to anyone who knows what to look for. Science explains this perfectly. When we're deeply attracted to someone, our brain releases dopamine and norepinephrine, creating an addictive-like response. But unlike other addictions, this one comes with vulnerability attached. Because obsession means she has the power to make or break his day, she becomes the variable he can't control in his otherwise predictable life. So what does he do? He overcompensates. He creates distance to prove he doesn't need closeness. He acts casual to hide how much he cares. He becomes unavailable to mask how available he actually wants to be. This internal war between what he feels and what he shows creates patterns that are impossible to miss once you understand what's happening. And here's why this matters so much. His obsession isn't just about wanting you. It's about you having become essential to his emotional well-being. You're not just someone he likes, you're someone he needs. And that level of emotional dependency is something most men will never admit, not even to themselves. Understanding this psychology is the key to everything. Because once you know that his indifference might actually be his obsession in disguise, you can start reading the real signs. The signs he can't fake, can't hide, and can't control. And that's exactly what we're about to explore. The first sign that you've become a secret obsession is hidden in something so subtle, most women completely miss it. His energy sign, 1, he finds any excuse to contact you shifts dramatically the moment you enter any space, even when he pretends not to notice you at all. And here's what makes this so powerful. Energy is the one thing he can't fake or control, no matter how good his poker face is. When you walk into a room, you might notice he suddenly becomes more animated if he was quiet, or more subdued if he was being loud. His energy recalibrates around your presence because your arrival changes his internal state. He might not look at you directly. He might not acknowledge you, but his entire energetic frequency shifts. And that shift happens because you've disrupted his equilibrium. You'll see it in the way he positions his body. Even if he's not facing you, even if he's seemingly engaged with someone else, his shoulders might turn slightly in your direction. His posture straightens. His movements become more deliberate, more conscious. It's as if his body is performing for an audience of one, even when his mind is telling him to act normal. Here's what's fascinating about this behavior. When someone becomes our obsession, they become our emotional reference point. Their presence becomes the thing that determines our internal state. Happy, nervous, excited, guarded, all of these emotions get triggered the moment they enter our awareness. And for him, you've become that trigger. Science backs this up beautifully. Research shows that when we're around someone who has significant emotional importance to us, our nervous system activates differently. Our heart rate changes, our breathing shifts, and our body language adapts. These are involuntary responses that happen before his conscious mind can intervene. What makes this even more telling is how consistent this pattern becomes. It's not just one random occurrence. Every single time you're in the same space, his energy recalibrates around you. He becomes a different version of himself, more aware, more conscious, more present, and sometimes more guarded. But here's what most women misinterpret. They think this energy shift means nervousness or discomfort, when actually it means significance. You matter a H to change his entire internal state. You've become important enough that your presence alone alters his mood, his focus, and his behavior. And if you've noticed this pattern, if you've seen how he changes when you're around, even subtly, you're witnessing one of the strongest signs of hidden obsession. His energy doesn't lie, even when his words do. But as powerful as energy shifts, the next sign goes even deeper. Because when you've become his secret obsession, he starts paying attention to sentui. He remembers every detail about you, details about you that even you forgot you shared. And that's where his feelings become impossible to deny. When a man is secretly obsessed with you, his brain becomes a recording device for everything related to you. And I mean everything. He remembers conversations you had weeks ago that you've completely forgotten. He recalls tiny details you mentioned in passing. He stores information about your preferences, your dislikes, your random thoughts, like his life depends on it. But here's what makes this so telling. He doesn't do this consciously. He's not sitting there taking notes or trying to memorize facts about you. His obsessed mind does it automatically because you've become his priority interest. Everything about you gets flagged as important information worth storing. You might casually mention that you love rainy days, and months later, he brings it up during a storm. You might say, you had a rough meeting at work on a Tuesday, and he remembers to ask about it the following week. You might tell a childhood story once, and suddenly he's referencing details from that story in conversations that have nothing to do with it. This isn't just good listening skills. This is emotional prioritization. When someone becomes our obsession, our brain treats everything they say as valuable data. Dopamine, that feel-good chemical, gets released whenever we learn something new about them, making those memories stick like glue. Here's what's even more revealing. He often remembers things you said better than you remember saying them. You'll find yourself thinking, I told him that because to you, it was just casual conversation. But to his obsessed mind, it was important intel about the person who's taken over his thoughts. And here's the kicker. He uses these details in ways that seem almost magical. He'll surprise you with your favorite coffee order from a conversation you had months ago. He'll avoid suggesting restaurants you mentioned you didn't like. He'll reference inside jokes you thought he'd forgotten. These aren't coincidences. They're proof that your words have been living rent-free in his mind. What makes this behavior so powerful is its selectivity. Men don't do this for everyone. His brain doesn't store random details about his co-workers, his friends, or other women in his life with this level of precision. But with you, every word gets archived, cataloged, and preserved. This memory phenomenon happens because obsession creates emotional significance around everything connected to that person. Your random thoughts become important thoughts. Your sign and 3, his body language gives him away. Throwaway comments become meaningful insights. Your casual mentions become valuable information. So if you notice he brings up things you barely remember sharing, if he references details that seem too small to matter, if he knows your preferences better than some of your friends do, you're not dealing with someone who casually likes you. You're dealing with someone whose mind has made you the main character in his internal world. But remembering details is just the beginning. The next sign reveals something even more profound about his obsession, something that shows up in the way he protects you, even from problems you don't know exist. Here's where his secret obsession becomes impossible to hide. When you matter this much to him, he develops an almost supernatural awareness of anything that might affect you. And I'm not talking about obvious protection. I'm talking about subtle behind the scenes actions he takes to shield you from problems, discomfort, or negativity. Often without you ever knowing he's doing it, you might notice that certain people who used to be around suddenly aren't. You might find that problems you expected to deal with somehow resolve themselves. You might discover that uncomfortable situations you were worried about never actually materialize. And while you think it's luck or coincidence, it's actually him orchestrating your peace from the shadows. This protective instinct shows up in the smallest ways. Maybe he steers conversations away from topics he knows will upset you. Maybe he subtly intervenes when someone's being too pushy or inappropriate. Maybe he handles logistics so smoothly that problems disappear before they reach you. He becomes your invisible shield, deflecting negativity you don't even see coming. Here's what's fascinating about this behavior. Protective instincts are primal. When someone becomes our obsession, our brain categorizes them as precious, valuable, worth safeguarding. It's not a conscious decision. It's an automatic response that happens because his emotional investment in you has triggered ancient protective programming. You'll also notice he becomes hyper aware of your comfort in any situation. He pays attention to whether you're cold, hungry, tired, or uncomfortable often before you realize it's yourself. He adjusts his behavior, his plan S, and his environment to optimize your experience, sometimes so subtly that you don't even notice he's doing it. But here's what makes this Saint Wine He rearranges his time for you, sign so powerful. This level of care isn't something he can fake or perform. It comes from a genuine place of emotional investment. You can't maintain this kind of constant subtle attention unless someone truly matters to you at a deep level. And here's the psychology behind it. When we're obsessed with someone, their well-being becomes connected to our own emotional state. Their comfort becomes our comfort. Their problems become our problems. Their happiness becomes our happiness. So protecting them isn't just about being nice. It's about protecting our own emotional equilibrium. What's even more telling is how this protection extends to your reputation and image. He becomes defensive of you in conversations you're not part of. He redirects criticism away from you. He highlights your positive qualities when others might be focusing on negatives. He's essentially become your advocate in spaces where you can't advocate for yourself. This protective behavior reveals something crucial about his obsession. You're not just someone he wants to be with. You're someone he wants to take care of. You've triggered his provider instincts, his guardian instincts, his most fundamental male programming around protection and care. So if you've noticed that problems seem to solve themselves around you, that conflicts avoid you, that your life runs more smoothly when he's involved, you're not experiencing random luck. You're experiencing the actions of someone who's made your well-being a personal mission. But protection is just one layer of his obsession. The next sign reveals something even more intimate, how his entire social behavior changes based on your presence, attention, and approval. When you've become his secret obsession, something remarkable happens to his social dynamics. He starts unconsciously performing for an audience of one you. Even in group settings, even when he's not directly interacting with you, his behavior calibrates around whether or not you're watching, whether or not you approve, whether or not you're paying attention. You'll notice he becomes more animated when you're around. His stories get funnier. His jokes land better. His confidence seems higher. Not because he's trying to impress you, but because your presence elevates his energy. You've become his inspiration, his motivation to be the best version of himself. But here's where it gets really interesting. His social performance isn't just about sign and 5e. He gets jealous without admitting it being impressive. It's about being impressive to you specifically. He pays attention to what makes you laugh, what catches your interest, what earns your respect. And then he unconsciously adjusts his behavior to hit those notes more often. Watch how he interacts with others when you're present versus when you're not. When you're there, he might be more generous with compliments, more power tank with annoying people, more confident in his opinions. Your presence brings out qualities in him that don't always surface otherwise. It's as if you unlock a version of himself that he likes better. This happens because obsession creates an internal audience. Even when you're not actively watching or judging, he feels like you are. His brain has made you the standard by which he measures his own behavior. Am I being someone she would respect? Am I acting in a way she would find attractive? Am I being the kind of person she would want to be around? Here's what's particularly revealing about this pattern. He seeks your approval in subtle ways, even while maintaining his independent facade. He might glance in your direction after making a joke to see if you found it funny. He might pause slightly after expressing an opinion to gauge your reaction. He might adjust his position or his energy based on signals he's picking up from you. And here's the psychology that makes this so powerful. When someone becomes our obsession, their opinion of us becomes more important than our opinion of ourselves. Their approval becomes the validation we crave most. Their attention becomes the attention that matters most. You'll also notice that he remembers your reactions to his behavior with unusual precision. If you laughed at a certain type of humor, he'll use that type of humor more often. If you seemed impressed by a particular quality or skill, he'll find ways to demonstrate that quality more frequently. If you showed interest in a topic he mentioned, that topic will come up in future conversations. This isn't manipulation or calculated strategy. This is someone whose brain has made pleasing you a priority directive. Your positive reactions become his reward system, reinforcing behaviors that earn your attention and approval. What makes this sign particularly telling is how it contradicts his attempts to seem indifferent. While his words might suggest casual interest, his behavior is screaming investment. He's performing for you, adjusting for you, calibrating around you, all while pretending you don't have that kind of influence over him. But as revealing as Social Sen A60, he opens up in vulnerable moments. Performance is the next sign exposes something even deeper. It's about how his relationship with technology, with his phone, with his digital world completely transforms because of you. His relationship with his phone becomes a direct window into his obsession with you. And here's what makes this sign so undeniable. Technology habits are unconscious, automatic, and nearly impossible to fake. The way he interacts with his phone when you're involved reveals the truth about how much mental space you occupy. When you've become his secret obsession, you'll notice his phone behavior becomes completely different around you. He might put it away entirely when you're together, giving you attention that he doesn't give anyone else. Or conversely, he might check it more frequently, hoping for a message from you even when you're right there. But here's where it gets really telling. Watch how he handles his phone when he gets a notification. If it's from you, there's a distinct change in his energy. His body language shifts. His focus sharpens. His entire demeanor changes. Even if he tries to play it cool, his initial reaction gives him away every single time. You'll also notice he responds to your messages with unusual speed and attention, regardless of what he's doing. While other people might wait hours for a reply, your texts get immediate attention. Even if he's in meetings with friends or busy with work, messages from you somehow always get prioritized. Here's what's fascinating about this behavior. Message response patterns reveal emotional priorities better than almost anything else. We respond quickly to what matters most to us. We craft careful responses to people whose opinions we value. We check our phones obsessively when we're hoping to hear from someone specific. And with his secret obsession, you've become that someone specific. His phone transforms from a tool into a potential connection point with you. Every notification sound becomes a possibility that you're reaching out. Every buzz becomes a moment of anticipation. You might also notice that your conversations via text are notably different from how he texts. Final message. Your secret obsession others. More thoughtful, more detailed, more engaging. He asks follow-up questions, remembers previous conversations, shares things he thinks you'll find interesting. While his texts to others might be brief and functional, his texts to you become mini conversations. You might also notice he remembers and references your future plans with unusual accuracy. He knows your work schedule, your travel plans, your upcoming commitments, not because he's stalking your calendar, but because your future has become relevant to his future. Your plans matter because they affect when and how he might see you. This obsession with your future extends to concern about your long-term well-being and success. He might offer advice about career decisions, express opinions about people in your life who he thinks aren't good for you, or share resources that he thinks will help you achieve your goals. He's invested in your future success because he's imagined himself being part of that success. But here's the most telling aspect of this sign. He starts making small adjustments to his own life that create more opportunities for intersection with yours. He might sign up for activities you mentioned enjoying. He might frequent places you go. He might adjust his schedule to align with yours, all while maintaining that these are just coincidences or personal preferences. What you shouldn't do is doubt yourself. If you've seen these signs, if you've felt that energy, if you've noticed these patterns, trust your instincts. You're not imagining it. You're not reading too much into things. You're recognizing the behavioral signature of a man who's made you the center of his emotional world, whether he's ready to admit it or not. Before you go, I want you to know that understanding these patterns is just the beginning. If this video gave you clarity, if it helped you make sense of confusing behavior you've experienced, I create content like this every week, deep dives into male psychology, relationship dynamics, and the hidden truths about attraction that most people never learn. Hit that like button if this resonated with you. Subscribe for more insights like these. And let me know in the comments which of these signs you've experienced. Your story might help another woman understand her own situation. Remember, love isn't about guessing games or mixed signals. It's about understanding. And now you have the tools to see the truth, even when it's hidden behind walls of fear, protection, and denial. The question isn't whether you're his obsession. The question is what you're going to do with that